Tonight we sit down for a long overdue conversation with a man who has worn many hats in the world of Junkanoo. Artist, leader and chairman of the Valley Boys. His journey through the Valley Boys, the lessons from the shack, and the evolution of one of the most iconic groups in Bahamian culture, Trevor Davis joins us tonight. Welcome to On the Record. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer, and our show begins on the other side of this break. Welcome back. You're watching On the Record. We are joined by Trevor Davis, leader of the Valley Boys. Trevor, welcome back. This has been a long time coming, so let's get started and straight into the show. Good to have you back, though.
Well, it's good to be back. Thanks for inviting me. I know the last time I said you promised that you'll have me back to talk my story.
And now is the time to talk. All right.
I'm more than happy to.
All right. It's all about timing. So I want to, first of all, get into your entrance into Junkanoo, your Junkanoo life, and really what brought you to this point. When did you first fall in love with Junkanoo?
Oh, wow. I think my earliest memory of Junkanoo would have been probably 1975, 76. For those who know or may not know, I am a product of Rolle Avenue, and Rolle Avenue is just the area in the back of D.W. Davis School.
Okay.
Yeah, and childhood friends. We grew up in the valley, and we always, as young boys, wanted to do what the bigger guys did. And so I remember the days when we used to put the rock and our marbles in the jug and we shake them, or we would take the empty 5-gallon bucket, the pink bucket, and you put the little plastic around it with the tape it up and you beat the drum. And so they were my early years, what I could remember, and started Junkanoo. And right across on the ball field, I think it was a pink building, so it used to be a clinic at some point. And then Edward, who we know as Rat today, I think that's the shack where the Black Souls was, and Black Souls came on the valley. So I remember walking across there and going in the shack and watching the guys do their stuff there. And it was right after that, we would have moved to our home. My parents and family would have moved to a home in Marathon Estates, but, you know, I couldn't forget where it came from.
Sure.
And so I remember at the age of 12 parking at Super Value. Those who know Super Value food store in Montero, I think it's still nearby for less now. And right across the street from that, I don't know if you could remember, Jerome, was Champion Sportsland. And Champion Sportsland was owned by Gus Cooper, and his wife was working at the sort of time. And of course, if you park in and you go and you walk in park, you had to see the Valley Boys paraphernalia.
Sure.
So it was, again, a connection that I was very close to with at that time. And I remember hearing about the Centerville in October. So Centerville in October, yeah, so you see where I'm going with this, right? So Centerville in October was on a Saturday, and I was supposed to be to work. So I work up until about maybe lunchtime on that Saturday packing groceries, and I went across the street to Champion Sportsland and buy a Valley Boy shirt. And I had my bicycle horn, and I went down to Centerville Park where the Valley Boys practice now. And that was where I saw, and I could remember this day very clear, Ed McPhee, Crude Curtis, and I think it was Robert Ferguson at that time, and they was in the front line ringing bells. And I said, this is something I want to be a part of. And immediately after that, because that was October, then come the Boxing Day parade.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, at that time, I didn't know nobody in the shack. I didn't know nobody to take me to Junkanoo. So being adventurous as I am, and I was at that, especially being a young boy, I went and I paced my pants.
You pace on your own?
I paced on my own. My big brother told me what to do, but he was in a Junkanoo, but he rushed before that was moving, and he said, yeah, just get some flour and water and pace your pants. And sure enough, make sure I put a little bit of oil in it so Rod don't eat it. I pace. And I walk from Marathon Estates to Bay Street.
From Marathon to Bay Street?
And I found Valley Boy's shack. And that shack, for those who know, was on Market Street. And that was called the Shaolin Temple at that time. And when the Valley Boys was lining up, I lined up in the back of the Valley Boys. And I went down Bay Street with the pants and the Valley Boy shirt, my horn in my mouth, and I went behind the Valley Boys. And it just so happened that my sister realized, okay, no, you're going too far. You really love this. Let me see how best I could help you. At that time, she was working at Scotiabank with Peter Tanquest, and everybody knows Peter Tanquest goes by the name of Gould. Played an intricate part in the Valley Boys all those years. And, of course, by the next year parade, every Saturday morning, Peter was picking me up every Saturday and Sunday and taking me in the shack. So at this time, I would have been 13, eh? And so from then, that was my introduction into the Valley Boys. And from then, it just keep going up and up and up. And I fell in love. And at this time, everybody thought Gould was my dad and Gould bring me to the shack. And I remember meeting all the senior men in the shack. When you walk in the shack, you would see all this big, gigantic of Junkanooers. In that shack was Chinese, Jim Brown, Dribs. And these are persons who these are legends in Junkanoo. I had the opportunity to work with them. And some of the fellows who I still working with now, Aggie Boom was in the shack. Scrap was in the shack. Andy Ford was in the shack. And there's so much, I hope I don't forget nobody, but there was so much young men that was in the shack that helped to mentor, and each one of them taught me something along the way. Chris Moss was in the shack. And I just grew from strength to strength every year in the Junkanoo. So that's my earliest recollection of Junkanoo.
You first unofficially joined at 12.
Yes, unofficially.
By the following year you were in, but over the years you really worked your way up throughout the Valley Boys. You became an integral part of the group. You were there during the heyday of Gus Cooper, the late Gus Cooper. What would you say were some of the things that Gus Cooper taught you that are still with you today?
Well, those who know Gus Cooper know he is not a man of so much words. When you walk in the shack, you say good evening. Oh, yeah. He would drop his glasses and nod his head, and then I would continue upstairs and go with Gould. But he had a way of letting you know something wasn't right with your costume when he was pacing it. And that way, when he come by, he would nod and he would look, young fella, and you know something is wrong. You know, either the color was off or something, but the building was off at that time. And so I always remember that. But my fondest, I would say, acceptance from Gus was the morning that when I went best costume. I remember 1991. So 1991 was a year very challenging for me. That was the year that the Roots had separated from the Valley Boys. I remember it
clearly, yes.
And that year, I was almost, I don't want to say a vagrant, but I was so much in love with Junkanoo that I went to the shack every day. And I had no one to build for me because my build at that time was Peter Tanquest, who obviously we knew left and went with Roots. And I was just like a wandering sheep in the pasture looking for somebody to build my costume. at the time too, Stephen being Agibum also was a builder, but he was off in school. And every day I'm in the shack, eager to rush, looking for someone to build. And the Savior came. The Savior was Anthony Molly. Anthony Molly was a newbie in the Valley Boys who was looking for somebody to pace. And so haphazardly, somebody said, Anthony can build. And somebody told Anthony I could pace.
And that was the synergy.
Yeah, and I see the picture up. We're going to talk about that right now. And so that picture, this picture right here is the picture of the costume that Anthony Molly built. And that's the picture of...
What was the theme? What was the theme this year?
That was... this costume was the champion of the people. I think that year, 91, was when we carry World Heroes. That was the year when we had Mother Teresa, the year we had Mandela, the year we had Marcus Garvey.
This was your winning costume?
This was the winning costume in 1991.
What was Gus's reaction?
He came to me and that was the most words he ever said to me. Because, like those who know him, other than what lady this is you bring in the shack today? He was very troublesome, those who know him. But he came to me and he shook my hand and he congratulated me because on that morning, per se, I was at the tender age of 22. Wow. And that was like David Sloan, all the giants. And so for those who don't know, back in those days, we would have had at least 10 to 12 costumes coming out of each shack. So in the Valley Boys, we had 10 lead costumes.
What?
So all those guys who mentored me 7-8 years ago, I came and
you put it on them.
Not only that, all the JJ, Tom Jolly from the Saxon, all the big boys from the Saxon, they got it that morning too. Wow. And so so we will have another costume. I see you, I don't know how you get all these pictures, but this costume here is another costume that shows dedication. That's a 7-day costume. And of course, that was before decorations came in. I was off in school at the time. And I remember this costume very clearly because I saw my lecturer at the time wouldn't hear this. And that was one of the mornings I told my lecturer I needed to go home early because I have a wedding. Not that I had to come home to face this costume.
You had a wedding?
Yeah. So this picture here is 1987, I think. And that was a Gamble and Paradise costume, designed and built by Peter Tanquest. I had a pacing team at the time, so if I sit here and I can't take the credit, I had Hannah Boy help me pace. Carlos helped me pace, even Fisher.
I want to jump forward because you got a lot to cover and time is going. So we wanted to lay that foundation, but over the years you played an integral role in the group. But something started to happen. At what point did you see the group starting to divide?
Well, it was not so much the group started to divide. I think what I first noticed in Junkanoo is that there was no growth. And because we were doing the same thing every year, but expecting different results, I think that caused me to step away from Junkanoo a bit and be more in the background and help from a distance. And I think watching Junkanoo repeatedly every year.
When you say Junkanoo, you mean the group or the art itself?
The art itself.
Okay.
And obviously by extension the group. And I think, of course, we would have been through the time when we know we would have lost our great leader, Vincent S. Cooper. And since that, it is not me. It was the members of the group who now saw a decline in progress. And with the members of the group seeing a decline in progress, they started to reach out. And so...
Reach out to you?
Well, not only to me, there were other persons in the past who attempted to bring change inside the organization, but it got shut down for whatever reason. Over the years, I was still there, and a lot of people didn't realize I was there. I was there in such a way that keep the momentum in the back of the organization fired up. And so it was easy for them to reach out to me as the case started said it. Now, if you're on the outside and your house is nice and pretty, but you don't understand what's happening on the inside. And so on the inside, there was a lot of decay going on. and people were reaching out. And, and me being there from inception, and I think knowing what needs to happen and what should be happening, not just in my group, but for Junkanoo as a whole, they found a way to get to me, and they was able to convince me to come in and assist.
And then what happened? You and a group of people got together, or what happened?
Well, what happened is I think like what any person or any leader should do, find out what the problem is. So this notion that I just jump up or I come from out of the sky or who I am or where I come from, I hope this now could speak to a lot of that. What I did is I went and I started to talk to a lot of members and find out what's really happened. Some agreed, some opposed, and some had their personal reasons why they said what they said. But I was able to put a collective group of Valley boys. Some have been there before I was there, so who came after me, and some who joined around the same time. And we sat down to tables just like this, twice a week, and we came up with a strategy, 5-year and a 10-year strategy. How do we make the Valley Boys great again? And that was all we was asking for.
And what happened? I think you told me you tried to present that, and then what happened?
Well, what happened, obviously, it was rejected. Our motion was rejected because people thought our object was to just take over the Valley Boys. That was never the objective of our coming together. Our coming together was to make the Valley Boys great again. Because remember now, we haven't won a Boxing Day parade in how much years?
Don't remind me.
And not just remind people, but obviously there was something wrong. And like any organization, any company, sometimes we have to just reset. And all we was asking for as members to reset. Look into us. Don't worry about the outside. Look into us and see what it is that's going on. But we were not able to look in. And because we were not able to look in to fix our own problem, hence I think that's how come the problem gets spilled into the wider public.
You and this group that you were with within the Valley were trying to get an election, if I'm not mistaken. Was that...
Well, the election was trying to hide before I even come and play. Apparently, the election was trying to hide for some 12 years. I mean, if you speak to the past leaders, they will tell you that they have an election, and the election is done with the executive team. But you can't have 20 people speaking for 800 or 1,000 people. And the members wanted the opportunity to have a voice.
So, what did the group's constitution say about elections?
The group's constitution? We now have a constitution. I can't tell you that prior to the Valley Boys having a constitution, that there was ever a constitution that was ratified.
So there was.
I have copies of constitutions from the past, but they were not ratified. So it's okay to have it.
Yeah, it's just a document at that point.
It's just a document. It's just a black and white.
So there were you couldn't. There was no election, and I think at one point the group took to the fact that we were in the COVID period and it wasn't was not the right time to have an election. We were going through COVID. But then something else happened. You all kept agitating it. Those of us on the outside realized that there was something going on within the group. There were stories of yourself and others agitating for change in leadership, internal issues within the group. And then I guess about a year ago or so, it all came to a head. And tell us what happened at that point.
Well, we was agitating for change. We realized that the group wasn't properly registered. Now, and I think that's another thing too that wasn't really clear with the audience. It's different if you have a business license for something or a temporary license. That doesn't mean that you're formally registered, because the registration of the Valley Boys would allow for a constitution. A constitution would allow for elections and AGMs.
And when did you discover that the group was not registered?
When we was trying to have elections.
And this was what, about
This was in 2023.
2023 you discovered. And then once you discovered it was not registered, what happened?
Well, once we discovered it wasn't registered, we tried again, and obviously to make communication, to have the then leaders at that time to sit to the table to get the group registered, because what that means, anybody with a business acumen or anybody that understands business know that you don't own nothing unless it's properly documented. And so all this notion that someone take it or we came in and we hijacked, no. What if, Jerome, you and your colleagues, as much as you like Junkanoo, and your friends that you went to college with, came to the Bahamas and you all had taken that name? There's nothing nobody could have done. Once it's available, you go and you register it.
So what
it's just, sorry, go ahead.
No, go, you can.
So it just happens that the persons who registered the Valley Boys are Raleigh boys.
So once you realized it was not registered, you're saying you notified the leadership that it was not registered, and did they take any action?
Obviously not.
So you all then went and registered the group as the Valley Boys?
The Valley Boys was not registered, period. So all those years, your group went down Bay Street as much as we love it, and it's fine that it happened back then. But remember now, this all came to fruition, and I think the bill was in 2014 that all organizations must be registered. Mm-hmm. So we're not talking what happened in the past when we started or when we fall in love.
Sure.
We're talking about current. And it's the right thing to do. You have to be accountable to your members.
So
you have to be accountable to your sponsors. And more importantly, you have to be accountable to the Bahamian people.
What was the aim, though, of your group or those who were supporting you of registering the group? What was the aim then? To take control?
No, the aim was just to have elections. Now, we had elections in March, I think it was the 29th of this year. And it was an open election. All the documents are there. It's online. Anybody want to see. Anybody who registered as a Valley Boy, a card-carrying member, could have voted. We invite some of the same persons who are cast in this situation to be a part of it.
So the issue then arose, though, when the other members of the group then went and registered another name, the world-famous Valley Boys. Is that correct?
Yes, that's when the issue
So that's when the issue. So now there are two names, so to speak. They're the Valley Boys, which you all had, and the world-famous Valley Boys, correct?
Right.
And the legal battle in many respects started over that.
Yes, the legal battle started over the name. Now, again, you only can have one person with a name. But that matter, we could leave it.
Sure,
because
that is still being resolved.
Yeah, that is still being resolved at the courts. But we all know only one Jerome Sawyer with
so far
that date, with that birth date, with that passport.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. But in effect, this split the group. So you had people who were calling you.
I don't want to say
you don't want to split. What do you call
70% of the members walked. Well, at that time it was 60%. We had another 10% of the members who wasn't sure. Right? And so you have some members who was on the fence because they didn't quite understand. And of course, you had a lot of people spinning the narrative, who I am, where I come from, and all that. So I hope today that, and thanks to you, that you're able to clear a lot of that up. Because it is there, a lot of people don't know what I've done for Junkanoo.
So, but you all took the Valley Boys name, but you also were referred to as the Way Forward. And how did that come? So you all were being referred to as the Way Forward, and you had this other group being referred to as the world famous Valley Boys. Tell us how the Way Forward then came up.
Well, the Way Forward came up because of our deliberation, and we was just putting the deck together, as I said earlier, and it was something that came up in the conversation, and I simply said, this is the way forward. The deck is now ready, and this is the way forward. And was our hashtag, was our slogan, yes, for us, not knowing that will come and the narrative will be switched, that this is the way forward, but Junkanoo Valley Boys. But that was the narrative to move forward. The group needs to move forward. Anything in life, you have to continue to grow and move forward.
So we've got to go to a break, but I've got to ask it. So as a result of that, two groups came to Bay Street in the last parade. The group that went out as the world famous, and you all were referred to as the Way Forward. Is there any hope of reconciliation?
I think the hope of reconciliation, because I get asked this question all the time by the Valley Boys fan, was in the fact that there is election. Election solves all problems.
So you had the election, but
election solves all problems. We, since under the Valley Boys, under our registration of non-profit organization in the country of the Bahamas, we went into election as promised on or before March 31st of this year. That election was held. Now, so if you remember last time, I was the interim chairman, and I went in as chairman this time because we had election. And their question is, did we invite everybody to be a part of? Of course we did.
So I guess the next natural question, though, that obviously the result of that is still not being accepted by the other group.
Well, again, because there's some spin narrative, and there are people who feel entitled. There are some person who feel that they need to be the chairman for life, or they need to be in these positions for life. These positions are not for lifetime positions, and that's in anything we do. Any person that you see in life who are successful in life will tell you, you go in a situation, you take it up to where it need to be, and you leave somebody there who's going to take it to the next level, and then you move on to something else. And so for me, this is just a temporary hat that I'm wearing. I want to bring structure. I want to bring change. I want to bring transparency to the Valley Boys. And in 2 years, I could move on and say I've done my part.
I can tell you, as a lifelong Valley boy, and I don't run from that. My people from the Valley always tell people, the Valley's like a religion in our house, Christmas time. As a fan, I feel I am disappointed. I am dejected. I find myself not even as interested in Junkanoo as I have always been, because this group, whether you're a fan or not, I mean, the rivalry is there between the Valley and the Saxons. If we ain't rushing on Bay Street, and no disrespect, that's the rivalry that people come for. Even if you with another group, you could still throw in your 2 cents. But for many Valley boys like myself, we are torn. We are disappointed. We feel disconnected from the group because we have friends and family and supporters on both sides. What do we do? Where is a reconciliation for us?
Well, and that's a good question. That's a question I get asked a lot too, And so, again, we've been apologizing for the fans, but you have to break down the house to fix it back up. Under the current state of Junkanoo, we didn't see no wins in the future for the Valley Boys, and so again we ask our fans to bear with us. We in construction mode, and I promise you that when we be back, we'll be bigger, we'll be better, and you could see the progress. And I talked about it earlier, Jerome. The house is pretty and nice on the outside, but inside it was decayed.
Trevor, we ain't got no house right now. I feel like we're living on the road.
Well, the thing it is, we're in the process of building a hotel.
Yeah. Oh.
We're in the process of building a hotel.
Right.
And this is a modern hotel. This is a hotel that's filled with all the latest gadgets and gadgets and technology.
I just want to say, we got to get together now. Time going. Anyway, and I'll say this to you as we go into the break. I think this is a wider effect because, the Valley, as in the Saxons, as in Roots, we are a Junkanoo community.
Yes.
And whenever one arm, if this was happening to another group, I think I would feel just as aggrieved. Because if we aren't getting that full support and participation, it affects everyone. And as Saxons have said to me, even though they come from their whatever wins, they'll say to me, it's not the same if we don't have the full brunt of the Valley. And so that is a real concern. But anyway, we'll get to that another day. We're about to go into a break now. As Junkanoo evolves, so does the conversation around its governance and future. After the break, we'll hear Trevor take on the Junkanoo Authority, a bit of the JCNP, and of course the future of Junkanoo. This is On the Record. We'll be back right after this. And welcome back. We turn our focus now to the broader picture, the state of Junkanoo. Trevor, let's dive right back in. Do you believe the JCNP has managed the past parades well?
Well, I could speak from, this is not the Valley Boy speaking now. I
Sure.
have to take the hat off. I'm speaking from my personal perspective. And me personally, and you know me, Jerome, because you used to come to my events a lot of time back in the ballroom. So I'm always that person who believe in entertainment. I'm always that person who think that you pay your money, you should walk away happy, you should walk away smiling.
It's experience.
And you pay for an experience. So for me, from a personal, and I'll say this, and I could go on the record and say this. In 2003, I think it was, around there, I remember having conversations. I remember even starting to put the paper together for the 2-week festival for Junkanoo. And what do I mean by that? Because I've had the opportunity to travel and see other festivals around the world. I say, you can imagine if we could make Junkanoo a 2-week festival.
That happens in other
This was
countries.
in 2003, if I can remember correctly. And what then happens? You start off with your junior Junkanoo as a parade. You could then incorporate the Bahamian sound competition. You could have your A category one night, then your B category, so you don't have to have those long wait on the bleachers waiting for your group. Not only that, you could have the best costume competition on another night. And most importantly, you could have the money night. And what is the money night? This is your international night. This is the night when you invite everybody from around the world to come and partake in Junkanoo. And so it almost is similar to the carnival model. Persons will come here, when they reach their hotel room, their costume should already be inside the room. These are things I was talking from 2003.
I can tell you, first time I went to Carnival in Trinidad, my costume was delivered to my hotel room.
At a cost.
Yes,
That's
no, we
set up
paid for it
at a
online. We paid for it long before we got
Right,
there.
and so for me, that's what I was hoping. Now you can imagine this over 20 years ago. So if we had started to plant that seed from then, you could imagine where we would have been now when it comes to funding, when it comes to guys who prefer to do Junkanoo year round instead of work. And so that was always my vision. A 2-week festival where you have the sound competition. That means, sorry, Jerome, that means we would have had more Bahamian Junkanoo music coming out of it. But for whatever reason.
So back to my original question. Has the JCNB managed these parades well?
Personally, I'll ask you. Have you seen, let me just ask you, have you seen any difference in Junkanoo from 2000
I can
to
take you back to
2025?
before that. The very first parade I commentated on as a young reporter was in 1993 when I started at the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas. The issues then are still the issues of today. Okay? So, and that was before the JCNP came around. I think back then we had the National Junkanoo Committee.
Yes, we had the Junkanoo.
I have not seen any real progress in that parade for those many years. So if you're asking me, it's not just the JCNP. I think the fault lies with country. We have not moved this forward in all of these years. But anyway, this ain't about me.
Yeah.
I also want to get your...
You're correct. Like I could for my win best costume in 1991, this is still the same.
What are your thoughts on the Junkanoo Authority bill? This is something that has come into the Junkanoo world that's caused some controversy, some pushback from the JCNP. But I think the agreement is that they're going to review and get back to the government and those who are putting the legislation together with their thoughts. I want your thoughts on this Junkanoo Authority.
Again, my personal thoughts. I'm for anything that causes growth, anything for the betterment of the Bahamian people, and most definitely anything that's in for the betterment of culture. And if those are the stuff that's going to come out the bill, then I'm for it. Now, the ideology that people were pushing and making it seem the bill just came about because of the Valley Boys. That's nonsense, Jerome. And people in this country need to just fact check. I'm in a chat group with some of my friends, and every time something come up, I'd be the first one to say, please fact check. Fact check the facts. And based on my check, then apparently this bill started from 2012. The opposition leader also came on the record and said that he was working on this bill. for the betterment of Junkanoo. So the notion that this is a new bill and this just came around because of the Valley Boys situation, please stop it. Please.
But
this is something that's been in the pot boiling and brewing for years.
But is it a good thing for Junkanoo?
Anything, like again I say, it has to be a good thing for Junkanoo if we're going to talk about international funding coming to the country. It has to be a good thing for the culture if we're going to be able to expand. It has to be a good thing for the country if we're talking about more seed money, more prize money for the Junkanoos.
Do you think, though, that this issue with the Valley Boys has impacted or even accelerated this legislation coming forward?
I don't think so, I just think that this was something that was in the making for a very long time. Now, what I think, and again, this is personally me, because of the Valley Boys situation, a lot of other things came to light. Mm-hmm. And so while I am bearing the brunt of, like you say, the fans being upset for now, I guarantee you, Jerome, at the end of the day, there's going to be a time when somebody said, boy, because of this, all these changes has happened, and maybe not us. The next generation is going to say, thanks for those changes, because now we can finally benefit from Junkanoo. Now we can finally share our culture properly with the world. As much people come to the Bahamas, they can't tell you they ever rush.
So true.
They can't tell you they know how to ring a bell.
Yeah.
But you know how to dance to reggae music, or you know how to play mass. You've been to Juve. And so that is what gives me personally gratification when you can share your culture with the world. And I think that's the main reason why God bless us with Junkanoo. We still keeping Junkanoo to us. Junkanoo is not for us. This, as much as we love the Saxon in the Valley, let's allow persons to come in and be a part of it. But when they come in to be a part of it, they can leave that grain on the floor. And when they leave the grain on the floor, it's not in the hotels that get shipped back to the country. It's over the hill to the grassroots people so they could benefit.
What role should the JCNP play in all of this? They are this governing group made up of members of the various Junkanoo groups who pretty much set the regulations, set the laws, run these parades. What role should they play in the future under a new this new Junkanoo authority, or just in general moving forward?
Well, I definitely think there's a place for the JCNP, because the JCNP is made up by Junkanoos. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to ask me if there's a place, yes, there's a place. What role they could play? Well, that's what is up for discussion.
What role should they play?
That's what is up for discussion. The rule, the minister gave us a bill. Mm-hmm. We go over the bill and we send our recommendation in. And based on our recommendation, the government then find a role for us to play inside of it. So
and that role should be?
Well, there's several roles. There's a lot of opportunities inside there. There's a lot of opportunities, and if you, again, the role that they should play should be one that gets to making Junkanoo better than it is today.
Mm-hmm. Do we need, and this is sometimes a controversial question, but do you need non-Junkanooers to be a part of this process a little more? And I say that because sometimes, naturally, when you are so involved in a thing, and your feet are in it, your hands are in it, you don't see the bigger picture. Do we need more folks who are not Junkanooers to be involved?
So let's look at you. Now, you clearly say that you are a Valley boy. You don't hide that. But you've been part of Junkanoo from how long? You have
from the 70s,
and you had the opportunity
before the bleachers,
and you had the opportunity to even broadcast many Junkanoos.
Yeah.
So you're a stakeholder. You know what to look for, and you could be a just person and say, "Listen, yeah, my Valley boys here right this morning. This other group went." And so that answers your question, not because you actively in Valley Boys or in Junkanoo, pacing or building, that means that you're the only one could critique. We have a lot of intelligent people, artisans, musicians.
And I think
educators.
Even from an organizational perspective, I've said privately to many people that I see where the route can be expanded, where there are money-making opportunities, where there are better crowd, where there are better opportunities for people to enjoy it without being out there 14 hours. So these are things that I see just from where I sit. But you're right, I think, and that sort of answered the question. I think a lot of it is because everything is caught up with just the Junkanooers.
Yes,
and everything really revolves. And that's a bad thing because you all know it better than most people. But I think one of the reasons why it hasn't been able to grow and expand is because that same group has just held on to it for so long.
And forgive me. Business 101. If you sit around the table with other businessmen and you sit and hear the conversation is completely different than somebody who doesn't have business 101. The idea is to make money. The idea is not to keep going back into the purse because you know the purse is there. So I'll give you another scenario. Events. If you have to put on an event with the government money, I guarantee you it's overspent. You have all the horns and whistles at 5 times the cost. You have to put that same event on with your money. So you can have some horns and whistles, but it ain't gonna be no overspent. So what I'm saying that put people in the positions who know what to do, and not just Junkanoo, straight across the board in this country.
Good luck with
we have a lot of people in these positions who don't understand it, but guess what? They ain't spending their money, they're spending the people money. And because you're spending the people money, you see the overage, and so hence, let's find the right people to do the job. When you open your own business, you find the right person to do the job.
Some people are concerned, though, that the commercialization of Junkanoo could harm the culture.
Harm the culture? The commercial of the Chinese food and Italian food they just eat last night harming their culture?
I only brought it up because
because we don't have honest conversation.
Go ahead.
As Bahamians, we think everything is centered around us, but these the same people, true, that will jump on the plane and go somewhere and do the complete opposite. These the same people that's going to be in the Chinese restaurant buying the bad food, then say Chinese restaurant all about. Come on, let's make it make sense. God bless you with a talent, and if the Lord bless you with a talent, you should be able to take care of your family from it. There's not one Junkanoo that will go down in history with all that talent as a millionaire. Now, a lot of these things I said before, I didn't say them on the record, I'll say it on the record. Look at everybody else's culture in the Caribbean. How much people you know personally who are rich and taking care of their family, of their culture? Why is it that we don't have no Junkanoo that is a millionaire or that's able to take care of the family? Because we keep it to ourselves. We're selfish. We only worry about beating the Sox and beating the Valley Boys. Let's hold this one down. Let's hold that one down. For me, I believe in international business. I believe in business 101. Open it up. Allow people to profit. Allow people to make money. And the more they make, the more will come. You don't hear nobody say they coming to the Bahamas to Russian Junkanoo. That's sad.
But they will jump on a plane and go to Carnival. They will
jump on the plane and go anywhere.
They go to Toronto. They go to
London. They go to anywhere.
Everywhere to Carnival.
We have to fix this. And this is just my personal thing.
It is a real
problem when you go in the shack and persons, I talk about multi-talent, not just only in the Valley Boys, straight across the board. Junkanoo is at a level now where the talent level is up here. Back in the days when I started, when it was the Valley Boys, we was winning up everything. We was winning all the best schools. We went 5 straight. This 4 straight the Saxons get now. I could go on the record and say the record will reflect. I was part of that 5 straight. And on that 5 straight, they had 5 lead costumes in that 5 straight. But what has it given us?
Yeah.
What has it given us? Bragging rights, and sometimes the bragging rights didn't last long because who's supposed to win didn't win. They can say you get cheap, and then when you go home on January 1st, school fees still got to pay, the light bills still have to pay.
Your wife mad because she didn't see you for 3 months.
And exactly. So let's talk about the broader picture.
Yeah.
And that's what the conversation we have. We spend so much time worrying about the nickel and diamond stuff. Stop nickel and diamond with this.
And you know, wherever Junkanoo lands in the world, it gets so much attention.
So much attention.
A few months ago, this is what really hit on me. A few weeks ago, I was in Toronto with the Ministry of Tourism, and they had a small Junkanoo group. And when that group performed at an event, it was at a venue in a convention center, when that music resonated from that room, I could see the people coming from all over, just coming to the glass, just drawn to it. This sound, this energy, and in the moment I just said to myself, my God, it is a magnet for people.
No, it's a magnet. But we talked about this generation. It's Generation X now, we talking about this generation. Everybody has a cell phone. Everybody is on TikTok. Why am I going to come to the Bahamas to watch Junkanoo when I could go someplace else and partake in their festival?
Yeah.
And so let's open it up. And I'm saying this to everybody.
It has to make sense if you're opening it up. I mean, to get into Junkanoo is almost mission impossible.
Right.
If you don't know someone.
And not only that, that takes away nothing from our main parade, you know. All I'm saying is let's put an international night on. We have people here in the hotels. Let's take those people out of the hotels. Let's put them in the street. Let's let them buy some costumes. Let's let them interact. Have some sky juice while they rush. We don't care if you could ring a bell. We don't care if you could beat a drum. They don't care. But they will spend money to do it. And not only that they will spend money to do it, they'll come back next year and they'll go back home and they'll brag about it. And the next year and every year it get bigger and bigger to the point where you have a whole summer festival with just Junkanoo people flying out every week. But we have to start somewhere. We can't be afraid of change. And what you spoke to earlier is afraid of change. The Valley Boys is making a change. The Valley Boys is coming out. I promise all of our fans, the Bahamian people that love the Valley Boys so much, we are coming back. And we ain't coming back with no little one-bedroom house or no little two-story house. We coming back with the latest.
I was say no more. My friends can argue me.
No, it's okay. It's a time, Jerome. Tell them it's a time for everything. But the reconstruction and the remodeling that we going through now, I guarantee you,
I've got
every Junkanoo group is going to go through this. Go ahead.
I got 2 more questions. We're just about out of time. What do you personally envision for Junkanoo over the next decade? You know, what would you like to see over the next decade or so in Junkanoo?
Honestly, what I would like to see for Junkanoo is not just for me, but it's for my country. I would like to see Junkanoo turn into a festival, what we talked about earlier. I would like more music to come out of Junkanoo. I would like more artisans to be recognized and to be paid for their service and their work. And how is that done? An opportunity for them to sell their craft before and after Junkanoo. That's what I personally like to see.
I think that is a reasonable expectation. As we wrap up, I'm going to give you these last few minutes really to talk about what you would like your legacy to be in Junkanoo. Having started out as a 12-year-old at the back of the Valley Boys and now ascended to position of chairman within this group, what would you like your legacy to be when you look back years from now, or when others look back years?
I didn't even think about having a legacy in Junkanoo. I just did it for the love and the passion. My first love, before I fell in love with music, I was in love with Junkanoo, which is music, two are the same. I just want to be the change agent. I just want to be the one. I thought there was a lot of opportunities for other persons to bring about the change and to point out the change. At the end of the day, people are going to have their opinions of you, which I understand, which is fine. But I just want to be the one who speak about the change. I want to be the one who bring about the change, point it out. And like I said earlier, this is nothing new for me. This is something I was talking about from 2003.
Well, Trevor, thank you very much for agreeing to come on and speak to us. I know I've been asking you for a long time. We finally are at that place where you could give us some insight into what has been happening. I wish you and the rest of the Valley Boys all the best. You've made some promises tonight, so we'll be looking forward to that. But thank you for all that you've done for the art form itself, and for this most important aspect of our culture. We appreciate you, and thank you so very much.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to say some things that I've never said before. And I hope persons now could go away with the appreciation and understanding that I didn't just come. This is not something that just happened overnight. I've been there, I've been in the trenches, and so I hope this bring a lot of clarity to people, and I could now get some better conversations now that they know, because persons really was stopping me and asking me if I partake. It was so strange. I had, just say this before we go, I had a young reporter ask me if I ever rush.
Okay, on the record. I'll wrap up with something different.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that, Trevor. We hope that you've enjoyed our show tonight. This conversation was a masterclass in culture, courage, and conviction. Trevor Davis reminded us that Junkanoo is more than a parade. It's a living, breathing part of our national identity. We thank him for sharing his story and his truth, and we thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm Jerome Sawyer, and this has been On the Record.